So do you think that your association with Jehovah's Witnesses and this peer pressure to get baptized at such a young age could have had something to do with your clinical depression?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I don't blame it solely on the organization, but I'm being raised as a Jehovah's Witness. You're only a child, and to be raised in the way that they raise children, you're constantly made to think about the incoming and Armageddon. And, if you do something wrong, you may not make it. And so that's bound to cause mental issues for a child because that's not a normal way of thinking. And so I definitely attribute a lot of how I was raised and being baptized at such a young age to having those problems as I grew older.
You're listening to The Critical Thought, where we challenge our listeners to use critical thinking when examining the teachings of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Lady C did an interview with Cassie Myers, and it really caught my attention, especially the subject matter. It's part of the series of the struggles of Jehovah's Witness women, and it dealt with clinical depression. And the reason it caught my attention is because I remember how much as an elder, this was one of the things that you often face, having to deal with friends who were depressed. And it's very interesting how this depression comes about when you talk to these friends in their homes. And a lot of it simply revolves around the demands that are being put on them. It makes people depressed. There have been studies done that deal with Jehovah's Witnesses and depression. I can only relate to what I personally have seen and dealt with, and it's not pretty. And from my personal experience, what I have seen is literally Jehovah's Witnesses burning out. They simply just burn out. They cannot run fast enough. They can't jump high enough. They can't do more. They simply just wind down. I remember at elders' school, they made the point to us that there were elders. The society had done a number of articles that dealt with depression. And in fact, some of these articles, the society got some of the most highest number of responses from Jehovah's Witnesses saying, thank you, we need an article on depression. So what some elders did, they wanted to improve in their skills in dealing with friends in the congregation who may be struggling with depression. So some elders, they would read additional material, additional books to brush up on their skills and their ability to help the friends who are struggling with depression. And during elders school, we were told point blank by the instructor, you don't need to read any other books. Society has all you need. And if you were to talk to someone who is a professional in the field, they would tell you, no, that's not the case. You need to become familiar with various things when you deal with people. And that's really the challenge within the organization. Many of the elders, including myself, we literally did not have any training in a lot of the things that we were trying to help the friends with. During the school, one of the instructors, he asked the question. We have over 900 elders in this class I was in. He asked the question, he said, would you like to be able to address 85, 90% of the problems that you're having in the congregation? And everybody, all the elders turn like, yeah. And he says, these are the things that you need to do. He said, take out your pen and write these things down. So, you see all the brothers, everybody getting their pen already, ready for, some new light, new information. And he says, if you want to address 85, 90% of the problems you have in the congregation, he says, ask the friends the following questions. 1, are you regular at all of your meetings? If not, that could be contributing to why you're having problems. Number 2, are you regular out in service? Because if not, that could be contributing to why you're having problems. And point 3, are you regularly keeping up with the reading of all your publications? In other words, you're up to date on your latest magazines, up to date on your latest Watchtower and Awake. That's what we were told. And I'm going to tell you, I looked around the auditorium, where we was meeting at. I was meeting in a conference room at one of the hotels here in Alexandria, Virginia. And I looked around, and you could see elders like, you got to be kidding. You got to be kidding. I mean, you got to be joking. And so that's the type of advice that we were being given. Now, we're talking about people who are struggling with clinical depression. Going further back, I look at when I was a young kid. I remember growing up as a young kid. You would have witnesses in the congregation. They would, for example, they may have heard voices. And during this time, everything was really about, demonic activity. And you told, don't buy anything on the side of the street, yard sale, because the blanket might be demonic. All kind of crazy stuff. We was into that stuff when I was growing up as a kid. I mean, you heard elders, circle of seers, and brothers and assemblies get that kind of talks all the time. So the friends were having issues. And so many times, well, maybe it could be demonic activity. Many times these people just needed some medicine to help balance the chemicals in their brain. But this is what we were being fed. And throughout the history of the organization, we have been given information many times that has absolutely nothing to do with the problem that the person is having. So when the person says to himself, I go to all my meetings, I'm out in service, I keep up with all the latest magazines, but I'm depressed. Well, at that point, the problem is on the person then. And so the demands of the organization to keep up, run faster, friends just cannot do it. And so when you listen to the interview of Lady C in the Struggles of Jehovah's Witness Women, you will see these commonalities that people feel they just cannot keep up with the demands of the organization. And interestingly, as the years move forward, there's not going to be any lightening up. Oh no, the organization is going to continue to tighten the screws down. The friends are going to have to do more, and we're going to see more Jehovah's Witnesses over the years struggle with having to deal with depression. So when people leave the organization, unfortunately, many times when they leave, they have been in this captive environment so long that they can't many times function in a healthy environment. And so I tell people, sometimes you might need to go and talk to someone. Lay it out, let people know. And I always tell people, let people know that you used to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And I've talked to people who have talked to doctors and so forth, and they're really surprised. One of the things that has happened with our website is we have actually been contacted by people in the profession. They're interested in people who they have as clients. They don't discuss the current person's case or anything, but they want information about how this religion impacts people's lives. Because when people start talking, they keep seeing people talking about what they were taught and what they were told. So we have had the opportunity to help a number of professional people who are clinical psychologists understand the culture of Jehovah's Witnesses. Because see, Jehovah's Witnesses live by more than just the Bible. They live by the rules that are put together by the governing body. They live by rules that are put together by the circuit overseers. And sad to say, they often live by rules that are put together by the local elders. And with all of these individuals stacking on their personal views and turning them into teachings of God and views of God and rules of God, and people trying to adhere by them, it becomes overwhelming for people. And they simply burn out. But the interview that Lady C did was very interesting. And it just brought back to mind what it was like trying to work with friends who are struggling and dealing with clinical depression. This has been JT. Thanks for tuning in to The Critical Thought.
This program was sponsored by Critical Thinkers.